Have you ever poured blood, sweat, tears, your heart and soul into creating a brand new digital product only to then create a killer promo sequence, and then once it hits the digital shelves, you get exactly 0 sales, goose egg? Then I've got something for you. I've been there, I've done that, and I want to talk to you and show you a better way to create new offers. Imagine flipping the script, essentially, basically pre-selling this so that you make thousands of dollars in validated customer purchases before you even create anything. If that sounds like something that you want to do, stick with me in this video. I'm going to show you the ethical way to pre-sell products and to basically validate anything that you do before you build it, so you don't waste months of your time building something that will never make a penny. Let's get into it. Okay, so pre-sell for success. This is what you have to be doing. Most entrepreneurs, what they'll do is they'll jump into this thing and this is them today, and they'll go, and this is when they eventually launch, right? And this time period can be, let's say, 6 months. And they'll spend this period coming up with an idea, mapping it out. Here is the actual creation. Here's the creation of and then you have the launch, right? And then you launch it, and you make a whopping $0. I've done this. I once spent about 4 months creating a course I thought was going to be killer, and I think I made in total from it like $500. And I was like, wow, this is 4 months of intense work to make $500. Ridiculous. What's that, $125 a month? That's not enough to live on. Look, the problem here is that people think that this is Field of Dreams, right? They think if they build it, people will just arrive and buy their product. It is completely backwards. That's not the way that you do things. You shouldn't be investing significant time and resources into creating something until you've validated that there is demand for that product. And with this method that I'm going to show you, you can actually validate and get sales within 24, 48 hours in some cases, but within a week usually, to validate the offer before you build anything. How do you do that? Step 1, look for a problem, right? You have to identify the customer's problem, okay? And you want to pinpoint a very pressing, painful, specific problem that your audience faces, okay? How do you do that? There's a couple of different ways, right? The first way is you can go to forums, review sites, and communities. Basically, go where your ideal customers hang out and look for what people like, want, and hate. So what you're doing here is like saying, people, if everybody says, oh my God, I love that this competitor, if you're on a review site, I love that they have this feature, right? The next thing that you can do is quite simply surveys. So you've got question 1. You can send this out to your audience, whether you have an email list, you can do it on social, whatever, right? Get people to tell you about their problems. I'll talk about this more detailed in a minute. The third way is that you can, and this is my preferred way, this is a really poorly drawn phone, you can call. Do calls. I always do free consults if I'm looking at doing this sort of stuff. So free consults over 20 minutes. And basically what you're looking for is the customer problems and these things, right? So you're going to jump on with your ideal customer and you're going to go through the problems. Now, in all 3 of these methods, you're really looking for 3 primary things: what they like, and this is to do with the competitors; what they hate, this is to do with their problems and also the competitors; and what they want, and this is to do with the transformation and also the competitors. Okay, so you want to be looking for these things, and what you're looking to do is keep a record of everything as you go through. So you want to be reading through reviews, you want to be talking to different people, you want to be going through survey results. Now, when you're looking through for want and hate, you're looking for things that pop up multiple times, okay? If one person says that they want a specific transformation, but you've spoken to 20 people and nobody else says it, the likelihood is that this isn't going to be something that's going to sell to the wider audience. And that's essentially what you're trying to do. You're trying to find trends within your target market, your little research group, and try and extrapolate that to the wider market. So the more often something comes up, the more likely it is to appeal to the wider market that you're eventually going to sell this to, okay? So that's essentially what we're doing. We're looking for the problems and the solutions, what people want and what they hate from the current solutions on the market. Look for things that pop up again and again. What I used to do with this was I used to do the calls. I used to have the calls transcribed, and then I would go through and just read them and make notes about what pops up the most. And if everybody's saying, I wish that I could achieve this transformation, but this is what's stopping me, you create a solution that gives that transformation and removes that specific barrier, okay? That's essentially what you're doing with this, identifying the problem. The next thing that you need to do, once you've identified what a reasonable percentage of your target market wants, likes, hates, and wants to achieve is you're trying to think about how the solution will be formed. So you want to conceptualize that solution. And it's going to be a couple of different things that you're looking here. One is the mechanism for that solution. How are you going to deliver the value? Is it going to be coaching calls? Is it going to be a course? Is it going to be a done for you solution? What is going to make the best sort of result for that person in terms of the fastest timeline for them to get the result that they want? Next thing, you want to focus on the actual transformation. And this is going to be key for the promise that you make. And then, you want to talk about how it's going to get rid of that painful problem. Okay, so the solution is all about these. And you see this, get X without Y through Z. Very simple, but essentially now you've got this. Hey, if you want to get, let's just go, you're going after people who are trying to grow a social media following. If you want to get an extra 1,000 followers per week without having to post every single day, I can show you how to do that with my, whatever the value mechanism is, with my one-to-one coaching that builds this system. Okay, boom. You've got the basics of the solution and the offer. You're not looking for perfect at this point. You're just looking for something that you can effectively sell. Next, once you have the basic solution, you want to create a simple sales page, right? Google document is fine for this. And this is a pre-sales page, right? And normal sales page stuff. The top, you want to attract attention. We're going through AIDA, so it's attention, interest, desire, action. Really simple. I've done a video on the channel where I'm talking about the different marketing frameworks. AIDA is one of them. It's great for you to be doing this. And you want to create this and you want to talk about in the attention stage, that big thing, how to get this big thing without this. Interest, the problem and the mistakes that they're making. Oh, if this sounds familiar, you're making these kind of mistakes, it's costing you this much time, money, effort, whatever. Does I have a better way to do this where you can get results who build desire in this without thing that they hate? All that you have to do is take this action, book now, whatever. Now, the difference here with a pre-sales page rather than a sales page is that you should also be telling them that this is a pre-sale. This will be ready in 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it might be. How long is it going to take you to create the actual offer? If you're doing one-to-one consulting, it's available immediately. We'll jump on a call tomorrow. It's fine. It's just your time. If you're creating a course, it might take you a week or 2 weeks. Be very honest and upfront about this, because once they buy and they're like, where is it? You're like, it's not actually ready yet. You don't have to deal with that. So be very honest that this is a pre-sale and it's not yet created. You might be thinking nobody's going to pay for something that isn't created. People do it all the time in things like beta launches and wait lists. And that's essentially what you are creating here. You're saying to them, if you buy now, it'll be ready in 2 weeks. And you might be thinking, why don't they just wait for 2 weeks? Sweeten the deal. Offer an incentive. What I like to do, let's say that you're launching this at $1,000 per person, cap the number of people who can buy this pre-sale and give them a 50% discount. So let's say that I know it's going to take me X number of hours, and for me to feel like that's been worth it, I need to make $5,000 to create this thing. I'm going to say, right, it's going to be $500 for the first 10 people. After that, I'm closing the cart. That's it. You'll have to wait 3 weeks and then it'll be ready and then it'll be $1,000. This way, the people who are in the pre-sale aren't going to be annoyed because they're getting a great deal. They're getting 50% off. You cover your costs. You've validated the product. And basically, you're not going to create something that isn't selling because it's already sold. Final, once you've got that, the offer and the sales page done, launch it. How do you launch it? Every which way you can. So I always start off with email, because if you have an email list, that's great. If you don't have email, go from social. You can even do this with ads, whatever you can. Just try and get this in front of as many of your ideal customers as possible. However, the best thing that you can do that I found results in the most sales is to go back to these people that did the forum that you spoke to in the forums, that did the surveys that you spoke to on the calls. Usually, because I like to do calls for this, I will go back to these people and I will say, hey, you said that you had this problem. And I'll go back to them and I'll say, hey, you know how you said that you wanted X because that was a big problem and you wanted X gone and you wanted a solution? And they'll go, yeah. And it goes, what if I made that for $500? And they'll go, okay. Now, if you speak to 10 people, you might only have 7 that buy, but that's 7 people who bought before you've created anything. Product is validated at that point. So go back to those people who have given you advice on this, because they've already told you exactly what they want. And you're saying like, I will create that thing that you wanted. Done. All you got to do, pay $500. So you launch that, you get it in front of as many people as possible. And then let's say that you want to hit, this is your, let's just call that 5K. This is where you need to make in terms of revenue. If you make only 2.5K, will you still make it? Maybe not. It depends on if it's worth your time, right? You don't want to then spend loads of time if you then have to put $3,000 into developing this, you've lost money. I like to always cover all of the costs that it will take to create the thing, because then even if I can't sell it future down the line, I've not lost money. I've just lost a little bit of time. So I like to have that hard number here. If you don't hit it, I say go back, look at the product, try it again. And then you might be thinking, I've collected money for this. All that you do is refund those people, say, look, we didn't hit the pre-sales. Sorry, here's your money back. It's fine. If you do hit this number that you need to make, then you can go and create the product, and you've not lost anything, really. You've actually made $5,000, which you can do very quickly to go and then create the product. This whole process, depending on how you do it, if you do this in a low touch, so this is low touch research, this is high touch because it requires a lot of your time. Low touch, you can actually get this whole thing done really quickly. You can go and research today and sell tomorrow, right? You'll have more difficulty selling because you don't have that direct in with those people who gave you feedback. If you have the more high touch methods, which would be like, this is today, you create the survey, you launch the survey, you get the results, you let it run for 7 days, and then you create the thing, and then you go and sell to the people. It's a little bit longer. If you do calls, it'll be even longer because you've got to do this. You've got to talk about how you're helping people on these calls. You've got to get people on the calls. You've got to do the calls. You've got to create the product. You've got to follow up. And then you've got to do this. So high touch is going to take you longer, but you have a higher probability of actually selling something at the end of it because you have a more personal relationship with those people. Again, I did another video where I spoke about how if you want to make sales quickly, it needs that one-to-one stuff. So get as many conversations going as possible. Look, this is all about pre-selling to validate demand. Before you create supply, make sure that there's actual demand there. Don't believe when people say, I would buy that. Instead, wait until they actually have bought something. It's ridiculous when people go out there and they actually create something thinking that people will just buy it. Very rarely works that way. What you want to be doing is you want to actually be creating nothing until you've been paid. Seems a little weird, but as long as you're honest and upfront about this, people won't get annoyed. And then as long as you're transparent with the whole process, they should be quite happy to wait 2 weeks because they're getting such a good deal. Think about it. How often do you pay for something and it's not being delivered for a week or 2 weeks? Not often nowadays, but it does happen. People are happy to do that because upfront is this will be delivered on this date. That's fine. You just got to sweeten the deal with that discount. So if you are thinking about launching a new product or offer or service, don't go and figure out all of the details and create the thing first. Make sure that people actually want to pay for it. Because if they don't, you don't actually have a product. You have something that you've created that cannot be sold. Pre-selling is a game changer. Now, if you want help setting this kind of thing up, check out the Growth Models Plus community. We've got stuff in there for all of the templates that you would need to help set this up really quickly in your business. Should be a link below the video. You can check it out. If you have any questions in the meantime, just let me know. Drop them in the comments. But essentially, if you want to make money quickly without wasting time and effort building something that people will never pay for, pre-sell. It's the easiest way.